There are books that sit quietly on dusty shelves, their pages yellowed and brittle, their ink faded like the whispers of ghosts. They do not call attention to themselves, no ornate covers, no flashy titles, just simple leather bindings and a faint scent of centuries gone by. And yet, some of these books are dangerous, not because they contain poison between their pages, but because they hold ideas, symbols, and formulas that can poison the unprepared mind. Old grimoires, manuals of magic, invocation, and hidden knowledge, have long been the subject of both fascination and fear. They are whispered about in candlelit rooms, locked away in monastery vaults, or hidden deep in private collections, their contents known only to a select few. Many who encountered them were changed forever. Some gained wisdom. Others lost themselves entirely. What makes them so dangerous? Is it the spells themselves, the complex arrangements of words, symbols, and gestures? Or is it something deeper, something in the way the human mind reacts to forbidden knowledge? Imagine a lock that has remained unopened for centuries. Inside lies a door, and behind that door is not just information, but transformation. The question is, are you prepared for what will change in you once that door is opened? In this journey, we are going to explore not just the history of these ancient manuals, but the dangerous secret they conceal. A secret that has nothing to do with fantasy movie depictions of fireballs and lightning, and everything to do with the structure of reality itself and your place within it. We'll uncover why certain grimoires were written in codes and riddles, why many contain deliberate traps for the uninitiated, and why knowledge, once seen, can never be unseen. You will discover that the danger is not always in the magic itself, but in the transformation it demands of you. And by the end, you may never look at a book or your own mind the same way again. Long before the word grimoire became a curiosity for collectors and occult enthusiasts, it had a very specific meaning. In medieval Europe, the term referred to any book containing magic spells, invocations, and instructions for summoning or influencing unseen forces. But the roots of these works stretch far deeper, into the sands of Egypt, the temples of Babylon, and the mystery schools of Greece. One might think of them as manuals, but they were rarely intended for the general public. In ancient times, sacred knowledge was passed down through oral tradition, guarded by initiates who had undergone years, sometimes decades, of preparation. Writing such knowledge was itself a risk, for words are portable, and what is portable can fall into unworthy hands. This is why many grimoires are written in veiled language, blending obscure symbols, metaphors, and even deliberate falsehoods designed to mislead the curious but unprepared. Consider the Emerald Tablet, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. It is short, barely a page, but encoded with principles that, according to Hermetic tradition, describe the entire architecture of the cosmos. Or the Picatrix, a vast compendium of astrological magic originating in the Islamic Golden Age, later translated into Latin and feared by church authorities for its blend of science, philosophy, and spirit-calling rites. A single misstep, they warned, could invite forces that would not be easily dismissed. Philosophically, the danger of grimoires lies in their function as mirrors for the soul. They are not just about summoning spirits or crafting talismans, they are about altering consciousness. Ancient traditions taught that reality is a reflection of the mind. Therefore, to change the world, one must first change one's inner state. This is why these books were reserved for initiates. The techniques they describe can magnify what is already within you. In a mind disciplined, humble, and balanced, they may awaken great wisdom. In a mind clouded by ego or greed, they may awaken something far darker. Perhaps the most striking historical insight was that the real secret was never the formula for a spell. It was the transformation of the practitioner through the attempt to perform it. In this sense, grimoires are less like instruction manuals and more like alchemical furnaces, designed to refine or destroy the one who dares to use them. If we understand this, then we are ready to explore the first half of the dangerous truth hidden in their pages.
To understand the dangerous secret hidden in old grimoires, you must first set aside the popular image of magic as a flashy manipulation of the external world. The truth is far stranger and far more intimate. Real magic, of the kind described in these ancient manuals, is not about bending the world to your will. It is about bending yourself until your will and the world are the same thing. The first danger is that grimoires act as blueprints for reprogramming the human mind. They are filled with symbols, patterns, and sequences that operate much like software code. In the same way a program can alter how a computer functions, these ritual codes can alter how your consciousness processes reality. But unlike computers, your mind is not a neutral machine. It has desires, fears, unresolved wounds. And whatever is within you will be amplified by these processes. Take, for example, the seemingly simple act of creating a magical circle, a staple in countless grimoires. At first glance, it appears to be nothing more than a protective boundary drawn on the ground. But symbolically, it is a redefinition of the self. You step into that circle, and everything outside it becomes the other. You are no longer an ordinary person. You are an operator, a microcosm standing against the macrocosm. That shift in identity, repeated over time, can be profoundly empowering, or dangerously isolating if the ego begins to feed on it. The second danger lies in the way these books blur the boundary between the inner and outer worlds. In the worldview of most grimoires, there is no hard line between thought and reality. What you focus on with enough intensity becomes real in some form. This is why so many rituals involve elaborate visualizations, invocations, and the repeated chanting of names. These are not mere theatrics. They are mechanisms to concentrate mental energy until it reshapes the subtle layers of reality itself. Here lies the subtle trap. If you enter this process without self-awareness, you risk solidifying your fears and flaws into your lived reality. A grimoire does not care whether you summon an angel or a demon, only that you follow the method. If your subconscious is full of unacknowledged shadows, those shadows may be the first to answer your call. This is why so many grimoires include purification rites, fasts, and prayers before the real magic begins. They are not mere superstitions. They are psychological firewalls meant to stabilize the mind before it begins interacting with forces that respond directly to thought and intent. In this sense, the dangerous secret is not the recipe for summoning a spirit or crafting an amulet. It is the revelation that the universe already responds to you, and that these books simply strip away the normal filters that keep that response at a safe, unconscious distance. Once those filters are gone, you will get exactly what you project, for better or worse. If the first half of the dangerous secret is that grimoires reprogram the mind and dissolve the boundary between thought and reality, the second half is more unsettling. Many of them were never meant to be fully understood by outsiders. On the surface, these books seem like precise instructions, lists of ingredients, invocations, diagrams, but in truth, they are layered like labyrinths. The outer layer is often written for the uninitiated, intentionally misleading correspondences, scrambled astrological timings, or ritual sequences that are almost correct but missing one vital detail. The inner layer is hidden in plain sight, accessible only to someone trained in the symbolic language of the tradition. This was not done out of cruelty, but as a form of spiritual triage. To give powerful techniques to an unprepared mind would be like handing a child the controls to an aircraft. It is not the aircraft that is dangerous, but the inexperience of the pilot. So the outer, false layer serves as a filter.
Those who blindly follow the words will achieve little, and those who have cultivated inner perception will notice the patterns that unlock the deeper truth. One of the most famous examples is the Book of Abramelin, which describes a lengthy ritual for attaining the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. The text gives meticulous instructions, except, as some scholars note, certain measurements, timings, and invocations are slightly inconsistent between manuscripts. It is suspected that the original author deliberately embedded these discrepancies so that only someone who had already attained a degree of spiritual insight could correct them intuitively. Why go to such lengths? Because the real work of magic happens inside the practitioner. If you cannot detect subtle shifts in your own mind or environment, you are not yet ready to navigate the territory the grimoire points toward. The misleading instructions, in a paradoxical way, protect you from yourself. But here is the irony. Many seekers, in their hunger for results, become obsessed with fixing the outer instructions, cross-referencing manuscripts, decoding ciphers, without realizing that this obsession is part of the test. A grimoire changes you before it ever works. Your patience, focus, and humility are sharpened or eroded depending on how you respond to the puzzles it presents. And this leads to the final and perhaps most perilous truth. Grimoires are not passive books. In the worldview of their authors, the text itself is a talisman, a charged object, carrying the intent of its creator. Simply reading, copying, or contemplating it can align your consciousness with the same currents that inspired its writing. You may never perform a single ritual, yet find your dreams shifting, your synchronicities multiplying, your inner life becoming stranger. The dangerous secret is that once a grimoire truly enters you, you cannot return to the exact person you were before. The symbolic architecture it plants in your mind will continue to unfold, shaping the way you perceive reality, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. This is why so many old warnings say, in essence, if you open this book, you open yourself.
Approaching the world of grimoires safely is less about avoiding the books themselves and more about preparing yourself before you ever touch one. Think of it like venturing into an ancient temple. The walls may be crumbling, the corridors dark, and the air thick with centuries of energy. Without light, map, or inner steadiness, you could wander forever, or worse, awaken something you're not ready to meet. Here are the foundational steps for exploring this territory without falling into its traps. 1. Begin with inner purification. Every serious grimoire begins with some form of cleansing, fasting, prayer, meditation, or ritual bathing. These are not empty gestures. They are ways of tuning the mind to a higher frequency, stripping away emotional noise and creating clarity of intent. A simple starting practice: spend 7 consecutive mornings in silent meditation before sunrise, focusing only on your breath and asking inwardly, "What is my true purpose in seeking this?" If your answer changes day to day, you are not yet ready. 2. Study the language of symbols first. Before attempting any ritual, immerse yourself in the symbolic languages most grimoires use: astrology, sacred geometry, numerology, and the correspondences between colors, plants, metals, and planetary forces. This is like learning the alphabet before attempting poetry. Without this fluency, the deeper layers of any grimoire will remain invisible. 3. Practice with harmless forms of ritual. Instead of beginning with spirit invocation, try symbolic enactments. Create a ritual for gratitude or clarity using nothing more than a candle, a circle of stones, and a written intention. Pay attention not just to the outcome, but to how your state of mind shifts before, during, and after.
This will teach you how ritual mechanics affect your psyche. 4. Journal every shift in perception. From the moment you begin studying, record your dreams, mood changes, unusual coincidences, and recurring thoughts. The mind is the first magical instrument, and journaling is how you measure its calibration. Sometimes the results of magical work are not dramatic events, but subtle changes in how you interpret reality. 5. Resist the urge to rush. Many who harm themselves with grimoire work do so because they skip the preparatory stages. They want the results now, summon this, command that. But old magic is like cultivating a rare flower. If you force it to bloom too soon, you destroy it. Set a long horizon, months or even years before attempting any high-risk operation described in a grimoire. 6. Never work in isolation without guidance. In the past, grimoire study was always done under the guidance of a mentor or within a lineage. If you do not have direct access to such a teacher, then work with peers who can offer perspective and keep you grounded. The mind has a way of distorting reality when immersed too deeply in symbolic systems without external feedback. 7. Always close what you open. If you do choose to perform any operation from a grimoire, even a minor one, end with a clear closing ritual. This can be as simple as thanking the forces you invoked, releasing them, and physically dismantling your ritual space. This signals to your mind and whatever you've touched that the work is complete. By following these principles, you are not only protecting yourself from the obvious dangers, but you are also embodying the deeper lesson of every authentic grimoire, that mastery of magic is mastery of the self. The external rites are mirrors for your internal discipline, and without that discipline, the most beautiful mirror can become a trap.
Old grimoires have always been more than books. They are thresholds, carefully constructed doors between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Those who wrote them were not merely magicians, but architects of consciousness, embedding in ink and parchment the maps of inner worlds. We have seen that their danger does not lie in some cinematic curse or dramatic explosion of power, but in something far subtler and more transformative. They reprogram the mind. They dissolve the safe boundaries between thought and reality. They test you before you even know you are being tested. And they change you in ways you cannot easily undo. To approach a grimoire is to take part in a silent agreement that you will step into the unknown willingly, accepting that the journey may strip you of who you thought you were. The warnings, cryptic or direct, are not there to frighten you away, but to remind you that power without wisdom is a blade without a handle. If there is one truth to carry with you from this exploration, it is this: the most dangerous secret hidden in old grimoires is not the spell, but the spell caster. The book's true magic is not in the words. It is in what the words awaken in you. So, should you ever find yourself holding such a book, remember, you are not only reading it, it is reading you. And in that silent exchange, the question will always remain: will you be the one who masters the grimoire, or the one mastered by it? Take this not as a warning to turn away, but as an invitation to prepare yourself. Study slowly, question deeply, and above all, remember that every true magical operation begins not with the turning of a page, but with the turning of your own mind toward the light. And perhaps then the door will open, not into danger, but into the wisdom those pages have been guarding for centuries.